Good evening, welcome to the Buck Stops here. I'm Vishnu Shom. On the program this evening, 11 parties today forged a common front as an alternative to the UPA and the NDA. The parties said that they will strive to formulate alternative policies and politics. But when asked about doing business with the Congress to stop the BJP, the alternative parties chose to stay silent. Now, we've heard all of this before, but will this new front, call it the third front, the alternative front, or the federal front, will it be destined to fail? Also coming up, should the right to die with dignity be declared a fundamental right? And if so, can terminally ill patients who will die soon be allowed to sign a will that allows authorities to hasten their death and therefore minimize their pain? Today, the Supreme Court referred the matter of the so-called living will to a constitution bench of the Supreme Court. Now, to be sure, no one is talking about active euthanasia or the process whereby a terminally ill patient's life is ended quickly. What is being looked at are methods to legalize passive euthanasia, a slower process, but only after the consent of a person when he or she is still able to decide for themselves. But first, let's quickly move on to our top story. NDTV has learned that in a clear break from past tradition and by invoking emergency powers of the Constitution, the government seems set to pass a number of ordinances ahead of the elections. These include Rahul Gandhi's anti-corruption bill, the right to time-bound delivery of goods and services ordinance, the prevention of corruption ordinance, the disabilities ordinance, among others. What the government seems intent to do is to take ownership of potentially landmark pieces of legislation and, in a sense, set the agenda for the next government, whichever government comes to power. My colleague Sunil Prabhu broke this story just a little while back and joins me now. Sunil, bottom line, this depends on the president. There hasn't been past precedent to this magnitude. It's not one ordinance we're talking about several. What really are the options before the president? Does he reject one and perhaps select one, or does he say that this is being done for a political purpose, it cannot be done this way?
Well, I think all eyes will be on Raisina Hill, and I think political parties will be petitioning and trying to express to the president that this will not be a free and fair election, because if the government does go ahead with what it is planning to do so, and all indications are that all cabinet notes are ready, and the legislative department along with the administrative departments have prepared the ordinance note. Unless, of course, some wise thinking comes in and wise counsel, they will go ahead. And as you rightly said, and as I've been pointing out, they want to have their imprint for the next government, as well as to take credit for this government. But what stopped them from taking this decision in the last 10 years, or even in the last 5 years, or in the last 3 years, even though Parliament has not been in session, even if the argument is that the standing committees have passed it, it will definitely be something that is amiss. There have been past conventions where the president has refused to sign an ordinance, whether President Pranab Mukherjee will be the final arbiter and be careful in signing those ordinances. That's a big question mark on him. But one thing I can definitely say, Vishnu, either way, it will be legally channeled, and whether the Supreme Court, of course, looks at this whole constitutional issue of killing the Constitution, because as you rightly said, this is an emergency provision of the Constitution. Can this be misused to such an extent? These are points which will have to be pointed out, as we have also seen in the last case when the president's rule in Delhi was imposed. They've gone into the constitutional question of whether the Delhi Assembly should be dissolved on the recommendations of a Delhi government or not. So it's in this backdrop that definitely a lot of constitutional questions will be raised. But nevertheless, this is just the beginning, and we will see in the next few days a lot of political turmoil and beelines towards Raisina Hill, requesting the president.
And I assume the courts as well, if the government does go ahead and do this, as you mentioned.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Sunil, very much for joining us with those details. Now on to the first of our debates this evening. Every time it's time for an election comes an announcement of the formation of a new non-BJP, non-Congress political front. Historically, a third front in Indian politics has never been a true political force, and some back-of-the-hand calculations indicate that it's unlikely that they'll ever come to power even this time around. Incidentally, they're calling themselves the alternative front now. What may emerge is a front that supports the Congress and its secular credentials and thereby blocks the BJP. Though at the moment, none of the leaders of the 11 parties who met today in Delhi will admit anything other than to say that they will emerge as a force to reckon with.
We are now concentrating on fighting these elections and emerging successful. After the results, what will happen, we'll discuss then. We are not in a position to say anything now.
The left and the regional parties forged an alternative front to the NDA and the UPA. But significantly, they didn't rule out doing business with the Congress once again to stop Modi. Officially though, the front vowed to stay equidistant from both the Congress and the BJP.
We do not want the Congress and the UPA to continue in power. We will work for the defeat.
आप पहले बीजेपी के साथ रह चुके हैं सर, अगर नरेंद्र मोदी की जगह कोई और चेहरा सामने आता है बीजेपी से, तो क्या आप इस फ्रंट को छोड़ देंगे या नहीं?
इसकी कोई संभावना नहीं। और वापस बीजेपी के साथ किसी भी प्रकार के संबंध की बात को छोड़ दीजिए, उसकी कोई गुंजाइश नहीं।
Unexpected media turnout at the event prompted many to believe.
एक बात जान लीजिए कि ये जो हम लोग इकट्ठे हुए, ये असली में फर्स्ट फ्रंट है।
But the one question that's always asked, how long will this alliance last? Two parties, Biju Janata Dal and the Akhom Gana Porikhad, skipped the meet, citing pressing reasons. Naveen Patnaik said it's too early to talk about any front.
I think at the moment it's still early days, as I've said before.
But there are reports that the AGP may be looking at the BJP for a pre-poll alliance.
Some tie-up with BJP, that time will tell.
Also, Jayalalitha's AIADMK that attended today's meet has already put out its list of Lok Sabha candidates on all 40 seats in Tamil Nadu. Besides shifting loyalties, the front also has to deal with too many prime ministerial hopefuls.
इसके बाद अभी 11 दल हैं और हो सकता 15 दल हो जाए। क्या निर्णय लेना है, कौन नेतृत्व करेगा, वो चुनाव के बाद तय होगा। In my presence, Madam Jayalalitha has said, no political party should raise this matter now. These are matters we'll decide later.
Despite a show of strength, the biggest challenge for this front is to stay united as a bloc even after the election results are out. Because history of parliamentary elections has shown that the winner takes away quite a few allies, if not all. In New Delhi, Sandeep Phukan, NDTV.
So will this alternative front be a viable political proposition once the elections are over? Well, joining us to debate this, Randeep Singh Surjewala, spokesperson of the Congress Party, Sudhanshu Trivedi, spokesperson of the BJP, Mohammad Salim, a Central Secretariat member of the CPM, Gaurav Bhatia, senior leader of the Samajwadi Party, Ajay Alok, General Secretary of the JDU. Gaurav, let me come to you first. Who's your political leader?
Who's my political leader?
Who is the leader of this front?
Sangeet, Vishnu, if you please understand the context, I think that question has been answered by my leader, Mr. Mulayam Singh Yadav, as well as Mr. Prakash Karat, that right now the question is not of selecting a leader from all the constituents of a federal front, but it is more important to give this country an alternative. People who want to vote neither for the Congress nor for the BJP, and they are looking for an alternate force, and this third front is giving them an opportunity to have an option. So therefore, this idea will gain momentum. As we have seen, people said that these parties can't come together with a common minimum program and an agenda, but all these parties are now having regular meetings, they are in touch with each other. They will come up with a common minimum program, as well as this idea of third front itself is gaining force. And I think elections are still a month and a half away or 2 months away. And I'm sure that on the polling date, people will vote for regional parties, people will vote for this third front or federal front.
Gaurav, let me ask you this. Are you avoiding the question on who will be the leader of this formation? Not you, but all of the leaders present at that press conference today, because it is an uncomfortable question?
It is not an uncomfortable question, Vishnu. In fact, it is the right thing to do at this stage. everybody is aware that there are many stalwarts in this federal front. They are leaders who have given a lot many years to public life, and at this juncture, without even knowing the results and the performance of a party in a region, I think it would be really difficult to say that X or Y would be the leader, and that is why they have built a consensus amongst themselves to say that once the results are out, then this question would be deliberated upon and they will come up with a leader.
Randeep Singh Surjewala, does the Congress see this as a viable political threat?
Vishnu, let me begin by saying that classically any front of this nature needs an umbrella party like the Indian National Congress to lead such a front. Reason being, and let me pick up a cue from what my friend, good friend from the Samajwadi Party, Gaurav, just said. They have to decide their convener, they have to decide their leader, and they have to decide their common minimum agenda to carry forward. Who, if not appointed the leader, in future would walk out of such a front is still unknown and unacceptable.
Randeep, did you just say they need a party like the Congress party to lead a front like this?
The Biju Janata Dal today.
No, Randeep, did you just say that this formation needs
like the
presence of a Congress party to be made viable? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Vishnu, when we speak about a front or we call it a coalition, Congress has classically led such coalition of like-minded parties with a socialist outlook and a secular agenda.
So you're reaching out to this front.
In terms of ideology,
the Congress party is reaching out to this front. You want them to be part of the UPA. Is that right?
Let me begin by answer that straight away by saying that many of the persons that you see today in Third Front have been off and on the allies of the Congress party. Reason is very simple. They are secular. They are for a socialist all-inclusive agenda, and their per se attempt today is to cobble together a group of leaders on an anti-BJP, anti-Congress platform, which would not do.
But how are you so certain that some of these political leaders will not veer towards the BJP?
Forward,
how can you rule out, for example, Jayalalitha going back towards the BJP?
Well, that is, Vishnu, for an individual leader of a political party to decide. I am on a matter of principle. Congress identifies with a socially inclusive agenda and an agenda founded upon secularism. If we can find common ground, then I am sure sooner or later, pre or post poll, many leaders in Third Front will see merit in the leadership of Shri Rahul Gandhi and the Congress party, and the agenda that we perceivably project and seek to implement.
Okay, let me put that to Ajay Alok, General Secretary of the JDU, because Randeep Singh Surjewala makes very interesting points. He says a lot of leaders in this alternative front should consider the leadership of Rahul Gandhi. He is making an open pitch, in a sense, for this formation to come and support the Congress. Right? How do you respond to that?
Well, Vishnu, it's obvious that obviously Mr. Randeep will tell that Rahul Gandhi to accept him as a leader. But the question is that it has been a long thinking for the last 1 year that the federal front or a third front, whatever you're calling, this concept should be revived. Because if you see in the local prospect, the regional aspirations of every regional party has gone high. And it has been felt very deeply that those parties sitting at the center, whether maybe Congress or maybe BJP, they are not meeting with the aspirations of the local states. So within the states where they are so powerful, so why don't they cobble together? And whenever these kind of fronts have formed, definitely the Congress has supported them from the back, from outside in 96. And even VP Singh government or Chandrasekhar's
So you want the Congress to support this front?
The problem here is, no, that's what I'm coming up. That's what Vishnu, that's what I'm coming up. Whenever these government have collapsed, it's always because when the Congress has taken the support back as per their convenience. Yes. So the biggest agenda in front of this front is that we should be able to so much cooperate with each other that the agenda for achieving 272 on our own within the front could be achieved, so that we are not dependent on the Congress. This is
Ajay Alok, let's accept.
No, how you do say?
Let's accept that is completely unrealistic. Just look at the most recent polls which have come out. Even if you discredit these polls, realistically, do you see yourselves as this front getting that magic mark? Nobody would say that you can
if you're
alone.
talking of,
You need to back a front.
If you're
Now
talking
you
of
either back the NDA-led front
of opinion
or
polls,
the UPA-led front. You cannot do it yourselves.
if you're talking of opinion polls, then I must remind you of the sting operation that has been going around with this opinion poll. So we do not believe that. What we are talking here today, the most significant part was Mr. Mulayam Singh Yadav said that today we are 11. In the coming days, you might see this goes up to 15 or 17. Let me remind you a classical example of NCP, which was running within the UPA, but also supporting the communist government in Kerala, which was a part of UDF, and the Congress was not part of it. So when the time will come, many more like parties will ally with us.
The NCP is an interesting party. I will raise that with Randeep Singh Surjewala in a while.
Just come in to make a quick point.
Just could you be with me for a moment? I just wanted to go quickly across to Sudhanshu Trivedi. How do you respond to what you're seeing here tonight? On the one hand, Mr. Trivedi, you see a clear pitch by the Congress to reach out to this front, playing the old card, the so-called secular card. And on the other hand, in the press conference today, there was no clear denial or rejection of the Congress in a post-election scenario. So therefore, where does that leave the BJP?
Actually, in Indian politics, opportunism and the secularism, so-called secularism, has become synonyms. Whenever you want to avail an opportunity, take the plea that we are doing it for refraining the communal forces like BJP. So it has become a synonym word, that secularism and opportunism. Now come to the present situation. It is having two things. One is a principle, another is a practicality. In principle, there are certain principles of nature that any institution, any body, any physical object cannot survive if it does not have a center of gravity and a connecting force. As a student of mechanical engineering, which I understand. So this third front is having no center of gravity. There are so many aspirations of prime ministership and no connection, political connection. Can you think that anybody will come in Bihar to hear Jayalalitha, or anybody will be there in Tamil Nadu to hear Mr. Mulayam Singh Yadav? So only those coalitions which are governed by the parties like BJP or Congress, which are having some presence in all the states, they can work as a center of gravity and the binding force.
You know, you're saying the same thing in different words.
These type of experiments always fail in the history. And now I would like to give an example of 2009 Lok Sabha election.
Yes.
Even 2009 Lok Sabha election.
Yes.
The Congress was number 1 party with 206 seats. BJP was number 2 with 116. Who was number 3? All parties were around 20 plus minus 1. Those parties who have fought the election with the part of NDA or UPA, they fared better, like JDU in Bihar and Mamata Banerjee in Bengal. And those who tried to go on its own on the pattern of third front, they fared badly, like left front and BSP. So the people of this country has become intelligent enough to understand that who is going to form the government and who is going to work as a spoiler.
All right. Muhammad Salim, let me ask you this. If you look at the viability of this alternative front, many of the political parties who could potentially have been part of the front are not part of the front because they hate or they have serious political differences with a party already in the front. For example, you have serious problems with Mamata Banerjee. She is not part of this front. The AIA-DMK has serious problems with the DMK. The DMK is not part of the front. Mulayam Singh Yadav has serious problems with Mayawati. The BSP is not part of the front. So isn't this entire exercise of this alternative front essentially self-limiting?
Vishnu, I am not amused listening to your argument and trying to find out problems with a microscope, and also the Congress and BJP's representative. And this is precisely that's why we are having this alternative policy platform. You are discussing the problem of leadership, which you have not discussed and decided.
But that's,
you are discussing about the front, which the front is not formed. We are saying it's good that some parties come together and try to work
but sir, you're calling it a front,
some
sir.
Policies or principles for which they will go and take to the people. What is the harm in it when you are seeing tamasha of chaiwala, when you are seeing the drama of various political parties, when advertisement blitzkrieg? If political parties, they come and commit on certain issues concerning people, be it economic issues, be it the communal question, be it the federal structure, be it the corruption. you may find out a lot of problem. When single political party like Congress and BJP, many leaders cannot work together. If many leaders of various political parties come together and make a solid...
But sir, let me ask you this, a direct question, because you're not answering my questions. Are you essentially an anti-BJP or an anti-NDA front? Is that what you are?
What is the question in it? That is already announced. That is precisely...
So therefore you are not an anti-Congress front?
Political parties coming together.
So you are not an anti-Congress front therefore?
It's an anti-Congress, and please, people want to throw out this Congress-led government, UPA 2. They don't trust BJP, and that's why they want alternative. We are trying to force an alternative, non-Congress, non-BJP.
No, sir, I understand that you are trying to forge an alternative. In real world politics, in a few months from now, when this front doesn't have the numbers, it's going to either have to be a political force which is not done well, or a political force which supports either the Congress or the BJP. Who will you select in that scenario?
Because the problem is, for last 1 year, you tried to project Namo and Raga. Beyond that, you are not seeing anything. But see India, see Indian people, but see the faces of the Indians.
So who can we project, sir? You don't even want to talk about your leader now.
Not Namo and Raga, but some policies.
Gaurav Bhatia, I don't mean to get back to that same point, but let me ask you the issue of leadership. When, for example, one speaks, let me come to Gaurav Bhatia. Mohammed Salim sir, I'll come to you in a moment.
You put a question about leader, you listen to me?
Yes.
You listen my answer?
Oh, no, I was asking Gaurav, but go ahead. Yes.
Answer about the leader?
Yes.
One is, you have elected a prime minister and trying to find out the electorate for them. And we are going to the electorate and let them find out the leader. That's the basic approach. Yours is a top down, or mine is a bottom up.